American PittBull Weekend Radio. I am your host, Caleb Woods, broadcasting from the beautiful red state of Oklahoma. 2,996 terrorist attacks have taken place in America. There is a list, which I invite any American who wants to know how many attacks we have had. Go to thereligionofpeace.com, click on the link, terrorist attacks, and click on American soil. This list is way too big. There is no way I could get through it in time. But Oklahoma is not even immune to it. 2014, September 9th, 25th. Sharia advocate beheads a woman after calling for Islamic terror and posting an Islamic beheading video. And of course, we all remember the Orlando shooting. If any of you want to see that list, look it up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to picture yourself at a stadium. It's football season. You're shouting, screaming, your voice is going hoarse. All of a sudden, you look up in the sky. You see a drone. One of those drones that you buy on Amazon.com. You think this is the coolest thing the world has ever seen. Then, you see more drones. And more. And more. They position themselves all over the stadium. By now, everybody's looking up. What's this, you think? And next thing you know, bang! The drones had bombs on them. And they had shrapnel on them. Impossible, you say? Au contraire. The person that I now have waiting on the line has written a book in the not-too-distant future where this can actually happen. Mr. Thomas Banks. He is the author of a book, Indefensible, and it talks about the very scenario that I just laid out for you. Thomas Banks, are you with us today?
I am, Caleb. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. For just in case you know, I actually took a look at your book, read through it, and you scared the living bejesus out of me with that book. I had no idea that these drones could be retrofitted to carry bombs on themselves. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what made you want to write this book? I mean, were you going through an electronics store, you saw one of those drones, and suddenly a picture appeared in your head of what a terrorist could do with those, and that's what led you to write the book?
Well, actually, there are a number of reasons that motivated me to write the book. I'm a technologist. I've been a CEO of many technology companies during my career, and I'm a pilot. And one evening I was sitting on the patio of a Panera near our home with a friend of mine smoking cigars and drinking coffee. And he said, "Look up there." And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's a drone." And he goes, "Well, isn't that interesting? That would be fun." And it just dawned on me that what if it wasn't fun? And at that moment, the whole idea of Indefensible just materialized for me. And I said, "Mitch, imagine if that was a bomb-laden drone navigated by a terrorist." And I said, "This is really a frightening scenario." And 60 days later, the book was done and being published.
Wow, you fast typer. I've barely got a book started myself, and you did it in 60 days.
Well, I'm getting old, so I have to go fast.
Oh, that's why. Are you first off, give an abridged version of your life, what you've done up to this point?
Sure. For the last 30 plus years, like I said, I've been a CEO of multiple companies, both private and public, all in technology. I am a technology CEO. So from that perspective, I have unique understanding of technology capability and what can be done with it programmatically by creative individuals. On top of that, I'm a private pilot with almost 2,000 hours of flight time with instrument and multi-engine ratings, and I take the airspace very seriously. That I don't want anybody encroaching on airspace when I'm flying along, from one point to another. And so I'm very concerned about the unsafe nature of the airspace as the drones proliferate. And I'm a family man with children, and I'm very concerned about our country, where it's going, and the allowance of technologies like this to run amok without any consideration for the unintended consequences. No one intended for cell phones to kill people 30 years ago when they were invented. Today, it's illegal to text or mostly use your cell phone while you're driving because it will kill people. And not as a weapon, but just as a distraction. So the good people at Amazon and other places and whatever other organization that would like to use drones are looking at drones from a business perspective, which is a good idea, but no one's giving thought to the unintended consequences of advancing the technology, and then it falls in the hands of people that would like to co-opt it. And so I brought all of my experience to bear when I decided to write Indefensible.
I was completely unaware that some of these drones had very heavy payloads, like 10 pounds. I didn't think that was even possible for some of these drones. Now, is that something like the millionaires class can afford, or can a couple of $1,000s buy you that?
The question is a good question. The answer is simple. First of all, drones don't cost anything to speak of. And when it comes to lifting capacity, it's all about the number of motors, and that's about it. So an eight motor drone will lift more weight than a 4-rotor drone, or rotors that are bigger in diameter. So the actual cost doesn't change much. There's a video on my Twitter feed at DroneOn1 at Twitter, where there's a video of a drone that you might buy and use in your backyard, lifting a 40-pound jug of water.
Jeez.
We're talking 40 pounds. And to be able to weaponize a drone, we don't need 40 pounds of explosive. A 6 or 8 pounds of C4 plastic explosive paired with some shrapnel, as you mentioned earlier, and laden with biologic contaminants like ricin, is more than enough, especially if there's more than one drone. If there's a squadron of a dozen drones, each with a half a pound of poison and a half a pound of explosives, would be deadly.
I have looked up the ricin attack that took place in Japan's subway tunnels. I'm pretty sure are you aware of that?
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, just what ricin does to the human body was enough to make me very sick indeed, what it does to you. One of the questions I ask is ricin easy to get a hold of? I mean, even modern day pesticides can be turned into chemical weapons, but is ricin that easy to get?
The recipe is available on the internet. It comes from castor beans, which many people have the castor plant as a decorative plant in their yards. You simply boil it, add some solvent, dry it up and grind it, and you have ricin. It may not be the purest ricin, but it's good enough because ricin is so deadly. 2 milligrams will kill an adult. And how much is 2 milligrams? About 20 grains of salt.
Jeez. Man, chemical, biological weapons in your backyard, and you didn't even know it.
Absolutely. Everybody knows castor beans are poisonous, but
there's
a lot of things that are poisonous. Right.
We never thought in 1,000 years we could boil it and make it into a weapon.
Right.
And I mean,
I said, the recipe is readily available on the internet, and it requires a little bit of solvent from your local hardware store and some water and some castor beans and a strainer, and you're in business, which is frightening to me.
Yeah, that's got to be scary. And ISIS is getting more technologically advanced. I mean, everyone said these were cavemen, they didn't know anything, and that really underestimates these people because Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had an engineering degree from the United States. Osama bin Laden had a construction degree, and lots of these terrorists do. And ISIS is becoming more technologically advanced every single day. I mean, they hacked into CENTCOM. I mean, who would have thought a bunch of cavemen could have done that? And now you write in this book that building drones is very easy to do and it doesn't take much, and the programming is simple.
Right.
Because when I imagine drones, I think of somebody with a little joystick in their hands flying that thing around. So when I thought, man, 30 drones in one place, wouldn't that be 30 people? Well, come to find out, you can now pre-program lots of drones these days. Are you aware of any drones now that are pre-programmable?
Pre-programmable. Yes. Caleb, almost every drone available today has GPS capability. DJI, the camera companies are all making drones now that they affectionately refer to them as drones on a leash, where they'll even follow you around. And so it's important to understand that the technology underlying a modern drone can be based on a $5 Pi computer that you can buy on the internet, Pi computer, which is not any bigger than an iPhone as a board, and it has motor control, GPS, full automation, everything you need to build a drone for a $5 piece of hardware. The rest are 4 electric motors, some batteries, and some propellers, and a couple of sticks to make an X shape. You can even go online and see drones that are made out of Lego sets. And so drones can be made from anything, anytime, anywhere, and for next to nothing.
Yeah, that's one of the things I read in most of these military articles is that it's the cheapest weapons that are killing us the fastest. And are you aware of any drone scares that have happened?
Now, we have seen a gigantic growth in airline drone encounters in the last year. We've seen Lufthansa had been diverted landing in Heathrow at the end of last year. My question is, are those errant drones being flown by some nitwit drone hobbyist, or are those practice sessions being flown with people that have intent to cause damage?
Yeah, like the drone flew into an airport and it scared the airplane pilot and he had to go somewhere else. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, they were landing at Heathrow, coming in an A380, I think it was, coming into Heathrow on final approach.
And was this person caught, or has he disappeared into the wind?
Sure.
Has he disappeared?
The owner of the drone?
Yes.
Yeah, no one's ever found those people.
Ooh, I do not like that.
Well, consider this for a moment. I want you to pick a ground zero, anywhere it is. Pick a target and draw a circle around it with a radius of 10 to 15 miles. Contained in that circle is 1,000 square miles of territory. If you had 10 drone operators independent of each other, not knowing what they're doing other than launching their single drone out of their soccer mom minivan, it would be impossible for the police to locate 8 or 10 of these guys in 1,000 square miles around ground zero. So this isn't about clustering these people together in large bundles of bad people. It's about spreading them out over large areas where it's almost impossible to find them, localize them, and capture them.
Yeah, especially like in Times Square. Like if you just had 5 guys in 5 different points and each drone had a camera, and you just went into Times Square and like picked the 4 corners of Times Square, and you had explosives with marbles in it and detonated that thing, you could kill about a dozen people and injure scores more. And there's almost there is almost nothing that we can just about do it. There's about nothing we could do to stop that, because
hence the title of my book, Indefensible.
Yeah, Indefensible. The thought never occurred to us pee-wee humans that little drone that we thought was all fun and cool could be turned into a weapon.
Right.
Yeah, that's...
And
Go ahead.
it will be. On the back of my book, I have a quote from Stephen Hawking, the famous physicist at Cambridge.
The super genius.
Stephen says here in this quote, autonomous weapons represent humanity's next great threat. Their versatility could make them the Kalashnikovs of tomorrow. And what drones are autonomous platforms. Add a bomb, add some poison, and you've got an autonomous weapon that anybody can create.
Have you heard anything about a drone that any police organization did catch that looked like it was being retrofitted for other than sightseeing?
No. Other than there are, in the Midwest somewhere, I forget exactly where it was, a young man was being arrested for weaponizing his drones and publishing it on YouTube. You can see those videos where he has an automatic weapon and a flamethrower attached to a drone and demonstrating its capability.
I don't know if you're much of a Law and Order Special Victims Unit fan, but there was one episode where these two career criminals needed a diversion in order to get out. Just as they're getting ready to interview them, suddenly the prison alarm goes off, and there's like 13 drones flying over the prison, dropping drugs and dropping needles, and one drone actually dropped a handgun inside the prison, and the guards finally had to get shotguns and shoot the drones down. So, are you saying that this is a possibility?
I don't think it's a possibility. I think it's a reality. I think that Pandora's box has been opened, and our government in its typical way is quietly ignoring it because there's other things that are more important, and we are going to awaken one morning blindsided a drone attack and wonder what in the heck just happened. Why didn't we think of this? Because we're more concerned about making money with drones than we are about protecting yours and mine and my children's lives. And it's going to get out of hand, and it's going to get out of hand very quickly. I have many, many, many thousands of followers on Twitter, and I hear regularly people say, why would you write this book to tell the Islamic State how to do this? And I remind them,
they already know how to do it.
Absolutely. I wrote the book as a call to action to get people's attention. These people do not need to be educated on how to kill people. They're really good at it. And the United States has been killing a lot of people with drones for a couple of decades now. So the idea of attaching bombs and weapons to drones is not a foreign idea to anybody. They just don't need to have a $50 million Predator drone. No. They need a $600 DJI drone and attach a bomb to it and Katie bar the door.
Yeah, watch it. I remember when Senator Rand Paul did his filibuster on the floor of the Senate for 12 hours. Basically, he declared that the reason he filibustered Brannon's confirmation to the CIA was he wanted Obama's written guarantee that the Predator spy drone would not be used to kill American citizens on American soil.
Right.
After reading your book, I'm like, he was aiming in the wrong direction. He should have been going after Amazon.
You're right. We don't need to use a $50 million drone to spy on you and me. We need to use a bunch of little ones, and this harkens back to the days of McCarthyism. We don't know who is in our neighborhood using drones, looking at whatever we're looking at, and I fear we're going to see an era of shotgun-toting citizens shooting drones out of the sky because it came too near your house. And amongst all that chaos, now imagine what jihad could be like, high-tech jihad, that there's going to be millions of drones flown in American airspace within the next year or two. They are being sold in droves. People are loving them. And the FAA is trying to regulate them. But for some reason, our government doesn't seem to understand that laws and regulations inhibit you and I from doing something, but it has nothing to do with bad people.
It doesn't. That's the one thing I always come back to. Laws and regulations do not apply to criminals, because look up Webster's dictionary of the definition of a criminal, and a criminal is a person who does not obey the rules.
Right.
So why have regulations in place when you know full well the other guy's going to be like, man, screw that, I'll just do it anyway and blow you up in your own backyard.
Well, as my dad used to say, locks keep honest people honest.
And reference to the shotgun issue, there have actually been instances where people have shot drones down because they were flying over there. Now, of course, that was a privacy issue. People weren't screaming bomb, gun, or laser beam or anything. That was just that was privacy issues right there.
And it's going to become more so. I'm very concerned. I think our leadership needs to take an affirmative step toward getting this under control and doing so now. Even Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, recently said personal micro drones should be outlawed by treaty, by international treaty. Even though they want to use them for business, they just don't think we should have drones. Now, people have asked me, why shouldn't that be the case? Because, don't we have the right to have a drone? And I remind them that under the Constitution, our right to bear arms is articulated very clearly, but nowhere in the Constitution does it tell me I have the right to own a drone. And I'm very concerned that it's going to get out of control, and it's going to get out of control very quickly.
Okay. You are in a position of authority. If you could wave a magic wand that could let you do anything, what are 3 big, shall we say, rules you would want the drone industry to start implementing to probably not stop it, but maybe make it more harder for these nuts to do this?
Well, at the very least, drone operators should be licensed pilots like me. They should have to get training. They should have to be certified, tested. That would be the very least they should have to do. More importantly, I think we have to put an end to drone manufacturing and distribution in the United States. It's not if we have 10 million private drones flying around and 100,000 bad drones, how are you going to identify them? How are they going to be detected? You can use all of the technology you want to fence them in, to make them stay in protected areas, but the bad operators will not abide by those guidelines and technology. So we have to clean up the airspace so that if there is a drone in the air, our first assumption should be it's a bad drone, not Caleb flying a drone with his son.
The inventor of the GoPro, he only wanted that camera to be used underwater. He had no idea it would be mass use. Now you walk up some of these big cities and you see people with GoPros on them, and now this book practically paints a picture where maybe one day we'll look up and there's going to probably be people with drones flying right behind them. Put it, as you said, leashing the drone, having it follow them because they're going to think this is fun.
But
and
Caleb, that's already available. You can buy those leashed drones, and guess who's announcing their new drone in the next month or so?
Apple.
GoPro.
Oh,
GoPro is announcing their own drone with its own camera on it.
Oh my God.
So everybody wants to be in this business.
Yeah.
And I'm a businessman. I love free enterprise. I love commerce, but not at the expense of freedom, not at the expense of peaceful enjoyment and security. We need to be able to feel secure, not wondering and hiding because we hear a buzzing sound.
Thomas Banks, you paint a very scary picture of what it is. Not a question of if it will happen. It's a question of when's it going to start happening, and are we going to be ready for it? I don't think we will. Thomas Banks, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy your success, and hopefully I won't have to call you.
I'd like to invite.
Go ahead.
I'd like to invite everyone to join me at Twitter at DroneOn1, and to visit my website at indefensible.org, and to get a copy of Indefensible from Amazon. It's time that we all be informed, Caleb, and we can't wait for the government to make decisions. We need to be involved proactively and be informed and demand that our leadership be informed.
Well, I hope the scenario you painted is a ways off, but I will not be surprised if it happens probably within the next 2 decades. Mr. Thomas Banks, thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Caleb. God bless you, my friend.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The future is not too far off. It's not too far off. I mean, who would have thought that a puny, tiny little drone was going to become a modern-day weapon of mass destruction? How could we have known? I mean, we all thought these things were going to be the greatest toys there ever were, and now one man has written a book detailing that this is going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, jihadists are getting smarter and smarter every single day. Do not think they're not already planning this. The more rotors you have on a drone, the more payload it can pick up. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that interview. I most certainly hope that what he pointed out will not happen. But everyone thought 9/11 couldn't happen, and now it's a thing we look out for every day. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a short broadcast. I hope you all enjoyed that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Caleb Woods. Follow me at PittBull Radio on Twitter, Caleb Woods at Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, see you all the Friday after next.